Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian from Zombie Guitar here. This is a really interesting concept that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take pentatonic position number 1, which I'm sure you're familiar with, that looks and sounds like this. Okay, so we're going to take that pentatonic pattern right there in the 5th to 8th fret area, and what we're going to do is we're going to add specific notes to it to create different sounds. Alright, we're going to create 8 entirely different sounds by adding these notes. And by adding these notes, what you're going to have is you're going to have different scalar frameworks for which to improvise in. Okay? Now, the 8 different sounds that will be created are going to be the Ionian mode sound, the Aeolian mode, the Lydian, the Mixolydian, the Phrygian, the Dorian, the harmonic minor, and the harmonic minor in the context of a major key. Okay, so that's 8 different sounds all taking place right in this position, and the underlying chord progression that you are soloing over is going to dictate which notes you should add in order to create the sound that is to be created. Okay, so first I'm just going to play through the 8 demos, and then I'm going to explain the theory behind it so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so with that said, let's take a look at these 8 demos. so how did I know when to play the Ionian mode, or how did I know when to play the Dorian mode, or the Phrygian mode, or the Harmonic minor scale, or how did I know when to apply each of these scales? How did I know when to add which notes to the pentatonic shell, or the pentatonic framework shell? Essentially what you want to do is you want to look for what is known as the characteristic chord, okay? Now, for just a major key or a minor key, things are pretty straightforward. I have a lot of lessons on, diatonic chord progressions, what constitutes a diatonic chord progression, what the chords of each key are. I put links to all those below so you can check those out. But in short, if you're in a strictly major key with nothing non-diatonic thrown in there, strictly a major key, your 1, 4, and 5 chords are going to be major. Your 2, 3, and 6 chords are going to be minor. Okay, so if you have any type of chord progression in which you have your one chord, your major 1 chord, followed by any of those other chords, 4, 5 being major, 2, 3, or 6 being minor, then you're going to be in the major key, okay? It's the Ionian mode, the major scale, that's your scalar framework, okay? So the first one that I did was C major to F. That put you right in the key of C major being your 1 chord, and then F major being your 4 chord, your major 4 chord. That puts you right in the key of C major, alright? Therefore, I applied the C Ionian mode scalar framework over that 2-chord chord progression. Okay, and then the next one was the Aeolian mode. Okay, so the chord progression there was A minor to F. Okay, so in a minor key, it's the same 6 chords, just kind of rearranged a little differently, alright? So A minor to F, A minor would be your minor 1 chord, and then F would be, if you're looking at A minor as your minor 1 chord, F would be your flat 6 chord, your flat major 6 chord. Okay, so I know that's a little confusing, but again, these other lessons that I'm linking you to will go into more depth about that stuff. But anyway, in the key of A minor, you have the same chords available, so A minor and then F major. That puts you right in the key of A minor. There's nothing non-diatonic about that. Therefore, my scalar framework that I played was the A Aeolian mode over top of that 2-chord progression, or the A natural minor scale over that 2-chord chord progression. Alright, so that's pretty straightforward. Major keys, minor keys, that's pretty straightforward. When you get to modes, that's when the characteristic chord really comes into play. Alright, so for the Dorian mode, the characteristic chord of the Dorian mode is going to be when you have a minor 1 chord and a major 4 chord. When you have that combination in some sort of chord progression, is a good indication that the Dorian mode is going to be the mode that you would apply. So A minor would be your minor 1 chord, and then D major would be your major 4 chord. Okay, so A minor, D major, A Dorian was my modal, or was my scalar framework, okay? So you have a minor 1 chord, major 4 chord, that combination, that should trigger in your head, okay, Dorian mode is probably going to be what I'm going to be using, alright? And then the Lydian mode, okay, the Lydian mode has a characteristic chord as well. So when you have a major 1 chord and a major 2 chord, and you have that combination, that's a good indication that the Lydian mode is going to apply. Okay, so the 1 chord was the C major chord, and then the major 2 chord was the D major chord. Okay, 1 whole step away from C. Okay, so you have C major, D major. Okay, major 1 chord, major 2 chord, that combination right there, the major 2 chord, that's your characteristic chord telling you that you should play the Lydian mode, most likely, okay? So that's that. Now regarding the Phrygian mode, okay, the Phrygian mode, the characteristic chord is a flat major 2 chord in combination with a minor 1 chord. Okay, so our minor 1 chord was the A minor chord, followed by a major chord that is 1/2 step higher. Okay, so A minor would be your minor 1 chord, then the B flat major this is going to be your major 2 chord. Okay, so when you see a flat major 2 chord, which is just a major chord 1/2 step higher than the minor chord that you started with, that's a very good indication that the Phrygian mode is going to be the mode that applies there. Okay, so that's that. Now the Mixolydian, one of the characteristic chords is if you have a major 1 chord, okay, in which case this was C major, and a flat major 7 chord. Okay, so flat major 7 is 1 whole step below the starting chord. Okay, so the C was our starting chord, 1 whole step below C is B flat. You make that a major chord, that's your flat major 7 chord. Okay, so here's C, here's B flat, okay, so over that the Mixolydian mode would apply. Okay, okay, so your C Mixolydian mode applies when you recognize that characteristic chord. Okay, now for the harmonic minor stuff, when you start on the A minor chord, which would be your minor 1 chord, okay, so A minor, and then you have a major 5 chord. Okay, when you're in a minor key, your 1 chord, your 4 chord, and your 5 chord are supposed to be all minor if you're strictly diatonic to that minor key. But if the 5 chord becomes major, that's when you implement the harmonic minor scale. Okay, and if you want to understand why that is, check out the lesson below that I linked you to on that. So if you have an A minor 1 chord, E major, which is a major 5 chord, then you would apply your A harmonic minor scalar framework. You could use the harmonic minor scale over both chords or the entire chord progression, but it would probably sound best to just use it over just that major 5 chord, okay, because that major 5 chord is really kind of like the non-diatonic chord. Okay, so use the A natural minor scale over the A minor, and then over the major 5 chord, that's when you would go ahead and you would target that harmonic minor note. Okay, so the 2 scales are very closely related to one another, but over the A minor chord you would play, over the E major chord you would play. Okay, now the same exact thing applies when you're looking at things from the major perspective. So if you're in the key of C major, okay, C would be your 1 chord, and in the key of C you should have an E minor chord. Okay, E minor would be your diatonic chord to the key of C major, but if you make that chord a major chord, if you make it an E major chord instead of a minor chord, then you would apply the harmonic minor scale over that one particular chord. Okay, and the harmonic minor scale that you would apply would be the A harmonic minor scale, because it's C major, A minor, it's the same set of notes. Okay, it's just either a major perspective or a minor perspective. Okay, so over the C major chord, over the major 1 chord, you would have and then over that E major chord, okay, which in the context of C major would be a major 3 chord instead of a minor 3 chord, you would then go ahead and apply the A harmonic minor scale. Okay, really, it's just the same set of notes. You would just go ahead and you would target that gray note that you see, okay, that harmonic minor note over that one particular non-diatonic chord. All right, so now this was a lot of information to take in, and in order to understand this stuff thoroughly, you really want to have an understanding of, the Roman numeral numbering system. You want to have a general understanding of, what modes are, where modes come from. Most importantly, you want to understand that modes are specific sounds that you're trying to create, tonalities that you're trying to create, okay? So as you saw, depending on the chord progression that was being soloed over or improvised over, that dictated what type of sound you, as the lead guitar player, are going to be playing, what scale or framework you're going to be playing in, okay? So I think I'm going to end there. I think this was enough information for one lesson. Hopefully this wasn't too confusing. I tried to make this as straightforward and simple as possible. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll be glad to help you out. Alright, so thanks for watching.